Hello, everyone. My name is Christopher Lack. I'm the IBPA Director of Membership and Member Services, and this is the Get to Know Your Member Benefits webinar series. We love this series because we have so many benefits, and we want to make sure you all take advantage of them, and these give you a chance to look more in depth at the different benefits. This one is focusing on the IBPA NetGalley program. I am happy to introduce NetGalley's Customer Success Manager, Katie Versluis, and IBPA's project coordinator, Sean McDonald, who manages the IBPA NetGalley program for us here at IBPA. And they're going to tell you all about how to flourish on the platform. Thank you both, and I'm gonna disappear, but I'll pop back in if people have questions.
Amazing. Thanks, Christopher. Well, I will start sharing my screen here. So, thanks for the amazing introduction. We're big fans of the IBPA at NetGalley. So we love this partnership, and we love that this is such a great member benefit for everybody who wants to use it. So obviously, I am here today to talk to you about NetGalley and how we can help you get your books into the hands of the right readers using the tools that are available to you through the IBPA's NetGalley program. So just to cover our bases, since I'm sure that we have a few people here today who have zero knowledge of what NetGalley is at all, we'll begin with what is NetGalley and why should you use it? So NetGalley is a way for you to distribute your reading or listening copies to book advocates and industry professionals. So that could mean anything from simply opening your book up to our built-in community of 600,000 members, or it could mean reaching your own list of trusted contacts via our tools like the widget. It could help you with goals like building your company's platform or the platform of your author that you're working with. So NetGalley readers can leave feedback. They can make buying decisions and influence generally how your book reaches the wider world. We have our English language site, so that's netgalley.com, and we also have netgalley.co.uk as well, which you can add your book to at no extra cost, and it's all within the same account if you're working with us directly. But we also have German, French, and Japanese language sites as well. So if you have translations of your book in any of those languages and would like to list your book, please get in touch. We would be happy to direct your inquiry to the right person. So while NetGalley is an effective way to distribute your reading and listening copies and to build buzz about your books, it can also be a really crucial tool that can help you to achieve your other marketing and publicity goals. So as we're going through the different options available to you as an author or a publisher, I really want you to be thinking about how NetGalley can be incorporated into the work that you're already doing to promote your work. So engaging with important book buying contacts like librarians and booksellers, and pitching to major media and influencer contacts, but also as how you can use it to expand your reach into new communities. So the people using NetGalley that you haven't reached yet. Speaking of NetGalley community, who are they? Each reader type is made up of 6 distinct categories, which they decide at sign up depending on how they plan to use the site. So we've got our reviewers, who might be bloggers, social media reviewers, podcasters, booksgrammers, booktubers, book talkers, and of course, traditional reviewers as well. Then we have our educators, who may be elementary school, high school, or university educators. We also have our media folks, who may be traditional media. So those are the types who would cover books for newspapers, magazine, or radio shows. And these tend to be like your longer lead types of members. So if you are looking to target them specifically, make sure to make your book available to them as soon as possible if you are listing your book pre-publication. Then we have our librarians, who may be school, academic, or special librarians for all age groups. We have our booksellers, who range from indie bookstore workers to distributors, chains, and online retail stores too. And then we also have our book trade professionals. So this is probably the category that most of you attending this event would fit into. It can include agents, authors, publishers, or just people generally who work in the publishing industry as a whole. So if you're curious, that's the one I use too. So our members use NetGalley to discover, download, and review new books, all while submitting crucial data to help the publisher or author make informed decisions about marketing their book, like cover up votes and library reads nominations. And speaking of library reads nominations, it's always really important to remember that there are other impactful ways that NetGalley members are using the site beyond just those reviews. Of course, reviews are important, but there's other ways that you can use NetGalley beneficially. So for example, librarians can nominate your title for the library reads list directly from NetGalley itself, which can be a really incredible boost for your books. And booksellers can do the same for the Indie Next list. A bookseller may also use NetGalley to decide which books to order for their shelves, and a librarian may be deciding which books to order for their collections. So as a result, these can be really important and long-lasting professional relationships that you could develop and foster through NetGalley. So how does specifically using NetGalley through the IBPA work? Well, of course, a lot of the strategy depends on how you as the publisher or author wants the process to go. If you are listing your book pre-publication, we recommend starting this process between 3 to 6 months in advance, with the 6 months being preferable if you're looking to target those long lead contexts that I mentioned earlier, like the traditional media people who need a bit of time to read your book before writing the articles that they're going to be writing. In most cases, the workflow for adding your book to NetGalley tends to follow this pattern. After either creating their account with NetGalley directly or working with the IBPA. An author or publisher will make their books available in the catalog, either to allow for requests if you're working with us directly, or the read now option if you're using the IBPA's program. So that gives interested readers instant access from the catalog. So they just click read now and they get access to that book. The publisher can also send out pre-approved links to their own contacts, which is a tool called the widget, and we'll talk about that a little bit later too. The member on their end will then request or access their approved book. If the member has submitted that request, which again is only available if you're having an account with us directly, the publisher will then make the decision to approve or decline that request based on what type of reader or listener that they find most valuable. Then, of course, that member downloads, reads, and submits their and shares their feedback for their book. So I just wanted to give Sean a couple of minutes to talk a little bit about the IBPA setup process. So a bit about how you'd send them your files, how they let you know that your book is ready, that sort of thing. So Sean, you take it away.
Thank you, Katie. Yes, so NetGalley and Katie have created this very graphically coherent presentation. And this slide is a very good indication of how the program works and how it works from our end as well. But I did just want to give all of those people who are watching and who are prospective participants in the program an idea about how it would work and what the view would be like for your end. And I want to do it in a way that's going to provide maximum quality or clarity, excuse me, so that you're not, scrambled and you don't have, all these worries about signing up and completing all the necessary steps before the book gets posted. So she's made this distinction between publishers and members. IBPA, obviously we're a membership organization, but we have a publisher account on NetGalley. And so we take the information that is given to us by an IBPA member who signs up, and then we post it. So I'm just going to share my screen briefly so that I can show everybody what it will look like from your view when you sign up for the program. So you will be automatically emailed a document. It's called a next steps document. This, if you participated in any of NetGalley's or any of IBPA's other marketing programs, you'll be somewhat familiar with this. I would recommend downloading the PDF version of it onto your computer just so you don't encounter any issues with the links. But this document will include detailed step-by-step instructions of what you're supposed to do. And you'll see very quickly that one of the early requirements is submitting a metadata form. And as I said, I actually do see some participants who I've seen participate in the program. Martha, I know your book is active right now, so you'll be familiar with this. But just to give you guys an idea, this is the page that you'll land on. This is for the digital galley. There is also an audiobook option. We'll talk more about audiobooks a bit later on, but the digital galley is likely the most popular of the listing options that we do. So that's what I'm just defaulting to for now. So you'll land here, and some of this might even auto-populate if you are signed into your IBPA account. Currently, you'll see that I'm not, even though I technically have an account, and I can sign in real quick. And if I go, actually, I'm just going to go back to that because I don't know if I'll be able to get back to that link. But regardless, you'll want to be signed in because that will just display the information correctly. And all of these fields, it's fairly intuitive filling this form out, but you'll put in all of this. There are some fields like subject category where it says you can choose up to, but no more than 3. So I will occasionally receive forms where somebody might only submit one that says general fiction, which is fine. You're not required to submit a form that has all 3 categories filled out. But when it comes to engaging with the biggest audience on NetGalley, and Katie probably can attest to this, I think you'll have the best luck if you add as many subject categories as possible that are appropriate and relevant for your book. So I typically will reach out to members and let them know that it's a good idea to add those categories as well. And yeah, that's essentially the metadata form. You also have to add in a cover image, which isn't difficult. It just needs to be a JPEG or a PNG. And we give the exact requirements in the next steps document. There is also, you will need to eventually send us the book files, which is typically an EPUB or a PDF. The choice is yours. Typically, EPUBs will convert best to Kindle. PDFs, for the most cases, children's books or books that have a lot of pictures are best. It's best to use a PDF. Otherwise, it won't be it just won't look as correct on NetGalley's website. Yeah.
There's one question, Sean, that's related to the metadata forms. So members are wondering if they won some type of book award, where do they put that on the form so that you can add it to their NetGalley page?
Sure. So there's a section that's called advanced praise, and they're more than welcome to include information about awards that have been won in the past or you can put an excerpt from a review. You can also add some of that information to the description. You're more than welcome to put it there.
And then for the description, is there a character length limit?
I've never encountered a character length limit. Obviously, you want to make it something that somebody who's looking at it will be able to easily digest, but typically most people just do a couple of paragraphs.
Yeah, and
no limit, but yeah, you'll want to keep it around the same length as something you would put on the back cover of your book.
Yeah, you're looking to get people's attention to want to read the book. You're not looking to tell people the entire plot of the book. Think with your marketing brain. Don't think you're like, as a novelist, you're telling them the whole story. Okay, I'm going to disappear.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, back up and running here. So I know that one of the most frequently asked questions that we get is how and where NetGalley members share their reviews, because of course NetGalley members can post their reviews on NetGalley itself, but many of them also share their reviews elsewhere online, of course, which is what you want, right? To post on a blog, social media, TikTok, of course, nowadays, and then retail sites like Amazon. The first way they do this is through our one-click sharing. So with our one-click sharing, NetGalley has provided a way for members to automatically connect their social media accounts to their NetGalley account, which makes it easy just to click share and it cross-posts to those other sites. But we also make it really easy for members to copy and paste their reviews to retail sites like Amazon, Kobo, and Barnes & Noble. So the member just needs to click that link and it takes them directly to the book on these retail sites. So that's what this little screenshot here is. And of course, since many books listed on NetGalley are pre-publication, so a lot of the times you can't share reviews until the book has been published. We also send reminders to our members for when the book goes on sale. So we do that weekly through email reminders, as well as an on-shelf reminder too from the website itself. So the shelf is what we call a members, where they can download and review books. If a member has posted their review on their own blog or website, or for, of course, video reviews like YouTube or TikTok, there's also a special section for links like this that are shared with the publisher in their reporting. So you'll always see a little link section that you can click to go to like a YouTube review, which of course can't be shared on NetGalley itself, which is just text-based reviews. And of course, if it's not to be overlooked that a review on NetGalley itself can be just as impactful too. So worldwide, NetGalley has over 600,000 dedicated active readers, and many of our members use NetGalley exclusively to discover new books. They make buying decisions, they provide word of mouth recommendations to their own community, so it's really valuable to have a review on NetGalley as well. So to check out how impactful our community is, I would absolutely encourage you to check out the NetGalley hashtag on social media sites like Instagram if you're just browsing and curious. It's such a joy to see how excited NetGalley members are. I'm always shocked, and it warms my heart a little bit whenever I see the buzz happening on the NetGalley hashtag. And NetGalley members, of course, also really dedicated to providing thoughtful feedback. They want their reviews to make an impact. And we have some enforced review guidelines as well to help them construct those reviews to be as helpful as possible, which we promote heavily throughout the site and via our help desk as well. So this next section here is for anyone who's curious about using NetGalley directly, so working with NetGalley rather than using the IBPA's program, and wants to learn more about the type of information you can receive about a NetGalley member, plus what kinds of things may impact your decision about whether or not you would approve their request to read your book. So what's on this slide here is just a really great example of the type of information you'll see in a NetGalley member profile. So some of this information is also available in your reports as well, even if you are working through the IBPA's program and you don't see this profile specifically. So you can see here a member type and professional associations at a glance. So that's up here. You can see stats about their who they are as a person and their reading habits. You can see sites and their reviewing sites and their badges, which can tell you a little bit more about a member's reading and reviewing habits. And you should absolutely consider their interests to decide if they're a potential fit for your book. So that's interest down here. I actually find this section a little overlooked by publishers. After all, a reviewer who indicates in this section that they're only interested in children's books may not be the best fit for your gritty horror novels. So definitely take a look through that section if you're working with NetGalley directly. And of course, if you haven't used NetGalley yourself as a NetGalley member, we definitely recommend that you do. For reference, creating your own member account is the only way for you to download and test your books on the site. And you can also view your files and your title record in the same way that a reader would, and see any reviews or cover ratings that might come rolling in. So definitely a good idea to do so. You can also use the site to see how other publishers are promoting the books, take inspiration from other comparable titles on the site. So it's a really easy and reliable way to do your own market research from what's new and exciting, and most importantly, effective. As I mentioned before, the best way to use NetGalley as a member for most of you would be to sign up as a book trade professional. So you see that that's my account here. That way, other publishers know most accurately how you're using NetGalley if you do decide to request and review other books. So since I have mentioned audiobooks a few times now, I just wanted to spend some dedicated time to talk about audiobooks on NetGalley too. So some of you may already know this, but working with the IBPA is currently one of the only ways to list an audiobook on NetGalley on a per title basis. The subscription clients that we work with can have their own audiobook account, but if you do want to do just one single audiobook listing, the IBPA is the way to go. So they also have the option to purchase an audiobook and DRC version together, so you can save a bit of money that way. So yeah, if you remember a bit ago when I mentioned how excited NetGalley members are, this is just a small example of the kinds of buzz around audiobooks that NetGalley members have. This slide shows just some of the many ways that we engage with our members to help them become the best audiobook trackers and reviewers that they can be. It also shows our members kind of out in the wilds, posting, sharing thoughts, and expressing their great enthusiasm for audiobooks. So Got some really excited folks here talking about audiobooks. Just to highlight just a couple points from this slide in particular, our 2024 reading journal, which is in the lower left corner here, is the most downloaded book on NetGalley, so book on NetGalley history ever, which has over 300,000 downloads and counting. We offered this book as a free gift at the end of 2023, and we actually surprised ourselves even with how popular it quickly became. Again, excited people. Members are enthusiastically tracking and sharing their 2024 reading lists and reviewing goals. So this reading journal is just an example of the ways we engage with our members. You'll also see some instructional headings here on the slide, like how to write an audiobook review. So we do a lot of education to teach our members the hows and whys of requesting and reviewing audiobooks, and of course, DRCs as well. The ways in which they can and should share their feedback with publishers and other readers/listeners after downloading free books. So I'm just going to pass this over again to Sean so he can talk a little bit more about the IBPA's audiobook program specifically, including a little bit more about that audiobook bundle that I mentioned earlier.
Sure, of course. And just before I do that, I did want to mention, I forgot to bring this up, but something that Katie said reminded me. So when you go to download your book, as she said, as a member to see how it looks, that is something that I also will do before, I release it to the world. I'm not just going to make the book public if it doesn't look correct. So I go through and evaluate how the files look on NetGalley after they've been submitted, just to confirm that everything looks good. And from the reader's perspective, there won't be problems. And of course, we do on our website have a section that's dedicated to creating and distributing books where you can look, because we do recommend that if you are going to participate in this program and provide ebook files, that you have a professional do it, just because eventually, we don't want to encounter a situation where we're continuously receiving a file that doesn't work. There is a fee that we have that I've never charged anybody, but it is technically in place for bad files. But hopefully you can follow the requirements that are used for formatting files. But yes, as Katie indicated, audiobooks are I think they've surged a little bit recently for NetGalley and for IBPA members. I know just anecdotally that in terms of reviews, NetGalley audiobooks that we place on NetGalley get a lot of attention in terms of downloads, and I think the quality of reviews is quite high, and the quantity of reviews that people who are listing audiobooks with us, I think that they're substantial. So it's worth taking a look at if you do have an audiobook or if you plan to produce one. Also, in the past year, I think it was last fall, I decided to sort of consolidate the digital galley and audiobook listing options into a bundle. So currently it's $299 for a digital galley and $299 for an audiobook, for both of them to be listed for 3 months. But I decided that it would be wise to combine that, and there's basically now an option to bundle that up and save about $150, which is indicated with this graphic. So if you do look on the website on our NetGalley page, the 3-month digital galley and audiobook listing bundle is there, and I would really recommend checking it out if you also have an audiobook. The only thing is, it's best if you're going to participate in that, if you do have the audiobook files prepared, it's ideal if they're prepared alongside the digital galley. That way I and you as the potential participant are not waiting around for the audiobook to be posted, 7-8 months later. It's nice if they can go up at the same time. But you're more than welcome to email me individually to ask questions about that, about the timing of it, about whether or not it's worth doing or anything along those lines. Something else about audiobooks is it is worth noting that the formatting has to be done in a way that's very specific. I've even made mistakes. I've received files and I've sent it to NetGalley's audio software and it hasn't worked. but ideally you'll be able to format it according to the rules that we have laid out in the audiobook next steps document, which again is something that is automatically delivered to you via email once you purchase the product. But typically you'll end up compressing a set of MP3 files into a zip folder that's named after the ISBN of your audiobook. So it's indicated right here on the right side of the screen, the way in which the files are named. And it does have to follow this very specific format. Again, if you screw it up or if you make a mistake, it's really not the end of the world. I deal with it quite frequently, and it's a fairly easy fix, but just something to keep an eye on when you're going through and formatting them is that you can only have the files formatted in this way. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Chad. Okay. So moving on to the actual meat of what NetGalley can do for you, starting with one of our most important tools, the widget. I mentioned this briefly already, but in addition to requesting digital review copies or audiobooks from the catalog, another way that a member can be granted access to your book is through a tool called the widget. So here. The widget is a pre-approved link that allows NetGalley members to download the secured file from NetGalley. So you, as the author or publisher, can and should include the widget in outreach that you're doing to your own list of trusted contacts. So even if they're not a NetGalley member yet, they can sign up for NetGalley really quickly and easily. So this means that you can send the widget to all of your own personal contacts, and they'll automatically be able to download your book if they have or create a NetGalley account. It's just one click away. All NetGalley files are protected with built-in DRM, and you can always see a full list of everyone who's ever downloaded your book, whether that's through the widget or otherwise, via the reports that the IBPA can send you. And we'll talk about that more in depth later. So that's all well and good, but I'm sure you're wondering, who exactly should you be sending the widget to? Well, that of course depends on who your target audience is, but in general, the widget should be sent to anybody who should be receiving a free digital copy of your book. So I know that's broad, but this could be a list of powerful bloggers, librarians, your local booksellers, especially. They would love to have your book in their store, or even book clubs that you've partnered with. So anybody that you think should see a copy of your book in order to either consider buying or reviewing, those are the people you should be sending your widget to. So for example, for a nonfiction book about baseball, it would be a good idea to send the widget to a blogger with a special interest in that sport, maybe an influential radio host, or even a well-known coach who has a social media following. Check their little Twitter handle to see if they have a media contact, and just shoot that person a copy of your widget. So anyone who has an important voice in the industry should receive a widget to your book. If you're a publisher, it can also be a really great idea to share the widget with your book's author. That way they can do their own outreach with their own list of contacts. After all, a really involved author knows exactly who they want to reach with their book. Just make sure to emphasize that they should not be sharing the widget via social media, since that can be really public. You may also want to add the widget to your monthly newsletter, or if you're attending an in-person conference or event, you can share the widget URL with attendees, or create a QR code if you're attending in person. So we've got a little example here if you want to scan that with your phone right now. A widget QR code is a really great alternative to bringing big, bulky, physical advanced reading copies, especially at VIP events like librarian conferences. So I think Christopher and I were just talking about how one's coming up next week. So if you're going, definitely bring a QR code of your book on NetGalley. Of course, since we're all trying to do our part to help reduce the impact on the planet, a QR code can help you save on boxes, shipping, paper, and tape. So really great option, especially you can do it in part with bringing physical ARCs too. So if you run out of physical ARCs, you have a QR code as a backup. So once a member has been approved to read the book, they can then choose their preferred reading device or app. So from here, your file is fully protected via our DRM. So if you're unfamiliar with that term, the DRM is basically built-in file security. It ensures that all of your files are DRM protected, so they aren't able to be printed, shared, distributed, etc. When all of the available download options are turned on, that means that members can download via their computer or tablet, their Kindle, their Kobo, other reading device, and then also through their phone via the NetGalley Shelf app. So the NetGalley Shelf app is actually the only way to listen to audiobooks on the site as well. So yeah, it's really great for listening to audiobooks on the go. Your book might have special accommodations that may mean certain download options may need to be turned off. So that's what Sean was just talking about earlier. So if you have like an image heavy file, like a children's book, you may not want to have the Kindle download option turned off. So he'll tell you if that's the case. All right, we know that authors and publishers are always trying to be more metrics driven, which is why we try to give our clients as much access to data and reporting as possible for your book. We love data. So let's take a dive into what that means for you. And we can look at some of the reporting and data that is available to you in either your account or via the reports that Sean would send you during your listing. So first we have our detailed activity report, which is can be an incredible resource for a publisher. So it's not visually very exciting, but this Excel report shows you a list of all of the readers who have shown an interest in your book by clicking the request or read or listen now buttons. So this report is really excellent for following up with readers, to remind them to download the book if they haven't done so already, or to ask for their feedback if they haven't submitted any yet. So generally, authors and publishers find an increase in feedback return when they use this report. And it's also a really great way to connect with your readers. So you can create a fan just by engaging with them using this report. So you can tell them when the book has gone on sale or make them aware of any publicity events that the author might be participating in. So really great way to give them additional information about your book. So the next we have the snapshot PDF, which is a really easy to share PDF of all of the data being collected about your book. We'll talk about that a little bit later on because it is more visually exciting. And then we have our feedback report. So this is a consolidated Excel report that collects all of the information about the reviews that a publisher has received through NetGalley. So this report can be used to identify which members are actively engaging with your title, and you can use it to email these readers to thank them for their feedback as well. You may even want to use this report to give them information about the next book in a series or similar comparative title that you think they might like. And of course, in that case, you definitely want to also send them a widget to that book. You will also have access to the opinions report. So this report shows individual responses from member-specific questions, such as, would you order this digital galley or audiobook for your library? So of course, that's a question that is asked to librarians. And then looking at that information, you might consider reaching out to interested booksellers to arrange an author webinar with their store or connect with media to the author for an interview. And then lastly, we have the word cloud report. And that's another one we'll talk about a little bit later too. Before we move on here, I'm also going to let Sean take over a little bit more to chat about how you can ask for your reports and when is the best time to do that.
Yes, so I do get lots of people who are wondering, how do I access these? And the answer is that you just simply have to email me and I'll gladly send you them. It's really not very difficult for me to pull them. It's just, you can send me an email and you can do it as frequently as you want. Probably want to wait, a couple weeks or days. It can really vary depending on how many people are downloading it. But I'm always glad to send them to you. I think that is an important edge kind of the IBPA program, is that you can always ask for them. So you can always see who's downloading the book. You can always see who's putting feedback on the page, and I'm more than glad to send it to you. It's really not difficult. Sometimes I might have other tasks that I'm prioritizing, but I always try to do it within 24 hours. So yeah, it's just, I'm the administrator on the account. So whenever you want them, just let me know. And Katie did a very nice job of pointing out how the depth behind using the reports. And it is really where NetGalley goes from being a review site or a place that you can put your book in order to accumulate reviews, to a way to socially connect and actually work on personally marketing the book. So in the detailed activity report, there is contact information of all of those who have downloaded the book. And as Katie was saying, it's essential because you can kind of build a relationship courteously. Obviously, you want to be kind when you reach out to all of these people, but you can thank them for downloading the book. And it is a nice way to maybe prompt them to end up leaving a review. Whereas if you hadn't reached out to them, they might just sort of ignore it. But that personal touch from the author and publisher, I think, goes a long way in cases like this. And I think it excites people when they hear from an authority behind the book. Another thing also about these, like the snapshot PDF, for instance, that Katie said she's going to talk about a little bit more later, but it gives you more of an idea about what the response is to your book. So, you'll see if people are liking the cover, if that's something you might want to improve upon later on. So there's all sorts of valuable insights that I think you can pull from the reports. And I'm just looking at the Q&A real quick. Suzanne, I'll get to that in just a sec, but yeah, so again, anytime you need to see these, just please send me an email and I'm glad to let you know. Also, there is a PDF that gets automatically sent out when I notify you that your book is live, and it's about how you can get the most out of the listing on NetGalley, about how you can really maximize it while the book is up. And using the reports is one of the essential items. So you can always feel free to email me about tactics behind reaching out to people and communicating with them. I'm more than glad to do that.
Thanks, Sean. So just to cover our bases here, I wanted to go over a few best practices for using those reports first. And we can always use a refresher on security and things like that. So publishers may use visible email addresses that are provided in those reports to contact members directly. However, communications to these members must only relate to that member's NetGalley activity. So if you're emailing multiple members at the same time, please remember to use the BCC function so that email addresses are not visible. So make sure we're keeping our readers' personal security in mind during that follow-up as well. So some really great examples for using the information that's available in these reports are, again, following up with members to remind them to submit or share their feedback. You can invite a member to request or download another one of your books that they might enjoy on NetGalley, while clearly acknowledging that the invitation is based on their prior activity. So something like, thanks for your NetGalley review of our title. We think you'd really love this next book in the series or this other book by this author. And of course, with any marketing and publicity outreach, always make sure you're following your local laws and regulations. So if you have any questions about proper usage of these reports, I'm sure you can email Sean, but you can always contact me or my colleagues at concierge@netgalley.com, and that email address will be available at the end as well. Okay, back to the fun stuff. As promised, I wanted to hop back into the snapshot PDF report, which I think is one of our most important and also interesting reports on the site. So this screen here shows all of the information that can be found on the snapshot PDF report. As you can see, the book can receive a star rating, impressions, cover ratings, and specialized feedback from each member type, which can be found in that opinions report that we just talked about too. So we're not going to go in depth about all this info because there's a lot of info here, but what some of this data means and how an author or publisher may find it useful. So we'll talk about some of these points here. So the statistics section, so that's up here on the top, shows a title's general performance on the site, as well as how members are following through. So you can look at the relationship between impressions. So that's the amount of people who actually click to learn more about your book on the site, and then click to read. So that's the actual amount of people who click to read your book, to download your book, and then you've got your feedback. So you can see how that pipeline is actually working here for you. With this section, you can also see whether or not the strategies that you're enacting are successful. We've got this reason for request section here. So that provides early indicators about what aspects of the book people are resonating with your readers. So in other words, why are they requesting in the first place? What's interesting them? A publisher can use this information in two ways. So both to see what's working and to see where there's room to try a new strategy. So if, for example, most NetGalley members are requesting access to the book based on that description, you know that your copy is effective and catchy. Most members are requesting based on the narrator or the author. You can absolutely capitalize on that personal connection in your ongoing marketing outreach. And then, of course, on the flip side, if only a few NetGalley members are telling you that they're requesting your book because they keep hearing about it, you can tell that you might need to be showing that book in more places and be more proactive building that word of mouth buzz. Then we've got in section D, so that's just over here, you can see your cover rating. So that's that little thumbs up, and those have been collected throughout the book's time on the site. So if you see lots of thumbs up on your cover rating, that means you have a really especially compelling cover. You should consider using it rather than, say, author photos in your marketing campaigns and social media posts. And then just a quick tip, if a NetGalley member is only lukewarm on the cover design, they don't usually downvote it. So you should consider those downvotes to be pretty strongly held opinions. If they don't love the cover, they'll just continue moving on. Then the word cloud. So within that snapshot PDF that we talked about, you'll also see this word cloud, which is a visual representation of the most frequently used words in member reviews for your title. So as I mentioned earlier, you can also receive an Excel version of this report, which breaks down each word down into the raw data. So you can see how many actual times the word was used in those reviews, but obviously this is more visually appealing here. So with that word cloud, you can see at a glance how members are describing your book. You can use those words to update the book's description. You should be using it to guide your keywords and your metadata, and you should be using these words in your ad copy as well. So just an example for this book here, this publisher of this book should consider using words like short stories, magic realism, technology, AI, all of those words being frequently used here in their marketing comms. So this is proof that members are using these words to talk about the book. So you should absolutely be using these words to reflect that conversation back to them. This will really help you with something called search engine optimization or SEO. So if you're unfamiliar with that term, it essentially just means that you're actively looking for ways to improve your web presence. So from the previous example here, if a member is searching or a buyer is searching for Amazon for sci-fi books about AI, this book would be one of the ones that would pop up during that search there. And we also have the title activity chart here, which again, also on your snapshot PDF report. It's a line graph that shows different kinds of activity for your title on NetGalley over time. So it shows the number of impressions, requests, member feedback, members with access, and reviews. So you can see lots of big spikes in impressions all throughout the title's time on the site. So each one of those little spikes there would indicate something that the author or publisher did to promote the book. So things like sharing a link to the book on social media or posting about it in a newsletter or sharing a widget. Sometimes just, if an author is doing something outside of NetGalley, it can often drive people to click on the book on NetGalley. So, even if, for example, the author did like a radio show and people were just running to Google and they stumble across the NetGalley listing, that can show you with concrete examples if what you're doing is effective outside of NetGalley as well. So if you've ever booked a promotion with us also, you'll be able to see this info indicated by a little green or red square at the bottom of the chart. So that's what that little section is here. All right, speaking of promotions, NetGalley also has a number of opportunities to promote your title to our community of book advocates. There's something for every budget and every goal. So including newsletters, we've got category spotlights and featured placements for distinct themes, and most importantly, targeted engagement. So Sean, again, is going to talk a little bit more in depth about the options that are available to you as an IBPA member. So, and after he's done talking, I'll follow up with some frequently asked questions that we get about promotions. So take it away, Sean.
Sure. Yes. So in just a moment here, I will show you on my screen where you can read all about these promotions and get a little bit more of a specific idea written out in text about them. But these are essentially what we offer like in the store portion of our website. And I would say that these are at least among the top three that are listed, those are probably the most frequently participated in promotions, and that there are differences obviously between each of them. So the category Spotlight is a promotion that you would sign up for with the idea of targeting readers who are looking for a book in a certain category. So if you had a book that is, and as I said, your book will likely have multiple subject categories, but when you sign up for a category Spotlight, you're choosing one specifically to put it in. So if you had a book that was a mystery and thriller book, you would sign up for the category Spotlight on our website. You would receive a set of instructions similarly to the initial phase of setting up your book. You'd fill out the metadata form. It would ask even less questions than for the initial setup of the digital galley. And I would take that information and give it to NetGalley, and I would work in the following days on making sure the scheduling is all set up for that. And once that happens, I would confirm it with you, and then the book would appear on the category specific page of NetGalley's website. So there's a home page, there's then a find titles page, but also there are categories that are listed all throughout. So somebody who would be looking for a book that's a mystery or thriller book would click on that category and they would find that book spotlighted at the top of the website. So in terms of visibility, it's a very, essential promotion that people participate in quite frequently. And the way we have divided it is there's a top 4 category spotlight. So that's for books that are mystery and thrillers, romance, science fiction, and fantasy, and teens and young adults. Those are just likely the 4 most trafficked and read categories on NetGalley. There's also category spotlights for all other categories. And just because there's that top 4 category set doesn't necessarily mean that books that you place in historical fiction or literary fiction or general fiction aren't going to get attention. There's still, as Katie said, there's 600,000 users of the website, so there are dedicated segments that are always looking for books in certain categories. And just anecdotally, I can say that people have signed up for category spotlights in home and garden or in reference, and I've seen the books get good attention and reviews that are a consequence of them participating in the promotion. There's also the featured placements, which are similar in a way to the category spotlights. It's basically divided thematically, and it'll be week by week. So you could see that there's a featured placement on July 4th, the week of July 4th, for American history books or something like that, or the week of Halloween for horror books. And that book that you submit for a featured placement would be featured alongside other books of a similar subject matter, a similar category. So it's another way to kind of get your book some valuable exposure in a way that is somewhat cost effective. Similarly to the featured placement, there's also the IBPA featured carousel, which is a quarterly promotion that occurs, and it's only for IBPA titles. So we actually just did one right at the beginning of June, and it was very successful. I think there's a maximum of 20 slots, and I think over 15 people signed up for it. So it's a great place to list your book along with other IBPA titles, because it's found on the find titles page of IBPA or of NetGalley's website. And I'm just going to show you very quickly where you can find the information about this. So on this member benefit page, which can be accessed by going to membership on the left side of the screen, and then down to member benefits and full list of benefits, you can find the NetGalley page on the securing book reviews part of the table of contents, and NetGalley's right here. And on this page, there's a detailed description of all of these promotions right there. And also, I just wanted to say that the newsletter promotions are another valuable way of communicating directly to members as opposed to listing something on NetGalley's website. Those would be sort of direct to inbox options that are targeted directly at NetGalley readers. They don't appear as like an enduring promotion throughout the week on the site, but they get sent directly to members' inboxes, and it's that's a very specific way of targeting people to read the book.
Yeah, exactly. And our newsletters are also sent out to people who specifically engage in each category that those newsletters send out to. So, for example, a mystery and thriller newsletter isn't going out to somebody who specifically only is interested in romance, for example. So you're only getting the most engaged, most interested type of reader who's receiving that newsletter. So Sean just did such an amazing job at explaining why you might want to choose each different marketing promotion. So here's just a little bit of information about or what that activity might look like. So this is just a little bit of a general snapshot of what activity from a category spotlight might look like, activity from a banner ad might look like, activity from a featured titles promotion might look like. And of course, there's a quick example there of what an audiobook newsletter that just went out, I think maybe like 3 days ago, looked like there. So yeah, that's kind of.
I just want to, just so it's specific enough, I just wanted to share my screen once more so people can see on NetGalley where that might, where their promotions might appear. So this is the landing page, which is obviously the most trafficked page of the website, just because that's what you get when you search up NetGalley. But if you go to the Find Titles page, this is where, right here, where it says featured on NetGalley, that is this week's featured carousel. So that if you participate in that promotion, your book will be landing in a very visible and exposed place on the website. And then, as I said, for the category spotlights, all of these categories are listed in alphabetical order right on the left. So if we, as I was previously referencing, were to check out mystery and thrillers, this is where your book would land. This week, it's a book called Eagle Rock. So that book's getting lots of exposure right on that page. So just so it's clear for everybody.
And Katie, when you were just mentioning about the exposure, were you meant to be sharing a slide? There wasn't anything on the screen that like had numbers.
Oh, shoot. Sorry. Yep.
I just want to make sure.
I had my screen up. This is what I was meant to be sharing just then. But yeah, that's kind of the end here. Just one more slide after this, which is just information about how to participate in NetGalley. So here you'll be able to see a few different ways that you can list your books on NetGalley, including via the IBPA and then through NetGalley directly. So we do, if you're working with NetGalley directly, we do have our subscription option, which is best for publishers who have at least 10 titles to promote over the course of a year. So that's either audiobooks or DRCs. And then IBPA members receive 10% off your first year of service for the subscription option. So yeah, if you have any information about that, you can contact me directly. And I believe you guys will be following up with a PDF of this presentation, so they don't have to jot down contact information, right?
Yeah. And one thing you may want to do at this point is kind of lay out the differences. If someone were to go directly through NetGalley and someone were to go through the IBPA NetGalley program, what would be the reasons why they might choose one over the other? Yeah,
that's a really great question. Ultimately, it depends on what your strategy is. The IBPA option is really great if you are a little bit more hands-off. Maybe you know that you're not super technically savvy, so you want somebody, aka Sean, to kind of do some of that work for you. That's a really great option for that. But if you want to be a little bit more hands-on with NetGalley, you want to see all of those requests coming in, you want on-demand reporting, you want to be able to touch and see things and upload your files and have full control over your listing, then the only way to do that is to work with us directly. So really depends on what your strategy is. Both are great options. You can weigh what is most important to you, and we can also provide more information about pricing and things like that if you contact us directly too. So to really see the full difference.
Yeah, and Katie makes a good point there. So when we list the books when it's listed through the IBPA admin account, all of the books will be set to read now. So that means that when the book is posted, it'll be accessible to anybody who's a member on NetGalley. There is no evaluation process in terms of receiving requests. Ideally, I would be able to do that, but it's just logistically not feasible for that to happen. And personally, I think for IBPA members in this specific case, I think it gives you a very nice amount of downloads, and your book is viewed by a lot of people. So I think having it on Read Now is a good setting to begin with.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Katie.
Yeah, and I was just going to add to, if you work with us directly as well, you have that Read Now option available to you, but you can also play around with your setting. If you want to try request at first and then change your book to Read Now for a certain duration, for 1 week at a time, you can play around with those settings too. So you do have control to switch back and forth too.
And so I wanted to add, one of the reasons we also do Read Now is because it's one of the most highly trafficked, like the different pages that those go on. Our members' books are indie publishing books, and the authors are probably not known, and maybe the publishing company's not known either. And, NetGalley, but also just the publishing world in general, is made up of some very well-known authors, well-known publishing companies, and people tend to gravitate toward those. So if you do a request, like approval, then it's like one more wall between you and them learning about your book. And the Read Now, people already are less likely to give an indie book a chance because they've never heard of these people. And so this is a place where you want to make it accessible to people because you want them to know about your books. And it's like a bookstore. When people walk into a bookstore, they're going to go up and they're going to go for the Michelle Obama book, right? Or the Stephen King book. So we want to set you up for success. And I know sometimes you're like, oh God, I don't want to get 600,000 downloads if I do Read Now. You don't worry. That's not going to happen. People are still particular about, they like mystery and thriller, they like romance. So I don't want you to shy away from feeling like, oh, I want to control who reads my book. Actually, you want everybody to have access to it at this point, because if you put walls up between you and the reader, then they might just move on and go, okay, that's fine. I'll just download the James Patterson book that's on this website.
Yeah, and also the Read Now option, there is something called on the site, the most requested section, which is where a lot of our members do kind of browse and see what's up and coming. And a Read Now book is more likely to pop up in that most requested section, exactly as Christopher said, because there's no barrier to downloading that book. You can just click to it. And yeah, it does tend to result in more downloads as well. Okay, so if you see a few questions in the Q&A section.
Oh, cool. I wasn't sure if there's any more slides. Yes, we absolutely.
No, that's all.
Okay. So someone's asking, you mentioned about the excerpt. Can you all explain what is an excerpt? Is there one for the digital galley as well as the audiobook? And then how do they do it? Does it cost more? Can you tell us about those?
Yeah, I can answer that. So the excerpts option is available for audiobook options. So if you want to add an excerpt of your audiobook so that a member can get a taste of the narrator, for example, before they request the book, that option is available to you. You can just upload it, send it to Sean. I'm sure he can upload it for you as well. You can also upload an audio excerpt to the DRC version as well. So if you have both, you can upload that there too. if you want an excerpt for your DRC, so your digital review copy, that actually needs to come to us in your metadata. So I know probably a lot of the people who are viewing this right now probably aren't working with Onyx specifically, which is how we would need to receive that metadata. So if you are setting us your Onyx, we would be able to set you up with an excerpt for your DRC, but I imagine that option is probably not available to most people right here just now.
And then some people wonder about, is NetGalley meant for books that are about to come out, or is it meant for, can you put up books that came out 5 years ago? Can it still be successful? Can you all talk to that?
Yeah, absolutely. We work with books during all kinds of statuses during the publication cycle. So yeah, absolutely. We work with a book that's been published 5 years ago. It depends on your strategy. A situation where I might recommend that is if your author is working with a series. So you want to start generating traction with that series from the very beginning. So you want to list book 1 on NetGalley that published 5 years ago. And that way you're kind of generating more fans, igniting some excitement for book 2 that's coming out soon. And then of course you want to list book 2 as well. Send all the people who read book 1 a widget to book 2, and then you're kind of connecting those dots for them. I don't know, Sean, do you have any other recommendations for that?
Yeah, no, those are all great points. And I think I encounter plenty of submissions of books that have already been published, and I think people still are able to get a lot out of them. I think the fact that just because the book has been published doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to have less inclination to read it and review it. So from that point of view, it still is a great opportunity to get people interested in and attracted towards that book. And especially like Katie mentioned, with a book that's in a series, it can kind of be a nice way to rekindle people's interest in it. And in addition to that, when you place the book on NetGalley, whether it's a book that is in pre-publication or has already been published, after it archives, it's free advertising. The book isn't going to automatically disappear. It's archived and the reviews stay up on there. So either way, it's a way for that to be sort of an enduring method of exposure for the book.
Yeah, sometimes people, when they find out about things like this and their book published 5 or more years ago, they worry, oh, I missed my time. But people like you all were saying, nobody goes to the copyright page and it's like, is this from 2018? I'm done. I'm not reading this. People just want to read amazing stories. So this is the first time they've heard of it. This is now the first time that they go, oh my gosh, this looks great. And if it's on NetGalley, well, they're not spending $40 or $25 or whatever. They're able to read it right then and there. So in terms of exposure, is a great way to tell people this book exists. Can you all speak to, if a book's about to be published, right? People always ask, well, when should I post it onto NetGalley? 3 months before publication date, 2 months? What's the timeline?
Yeah, that 3 or 6 month timeline is kind of the sweet spot. A pre-publication book, we do recommend at least 3 months. Audiobooks, I know sometimes can be a little bit shorter, 6 week. That 6 week window tends to be kind of the spot for a pre-publication audiobook. But yeah, 3 months is kind of the minimum pre-publication we recommend. And earlier I mentioned longer lead contacts. Maybe if you want to reach those media people, a few key important people through the widget that you have that needs that extra time, then you might want to think about listing your book for around that 6 month mark as well. And you can also, if you want to play around a little bit with, maybe you want 2 months pre-publication and then 1 month post-publication, just leave it up for, again, if you're working with us directly, you want to manage some requests so you don't miss a few key important bloggers, somebody who heard about your book because somebody else bought it and they loved it and they search NetGalley and think, oh, maybe I can get a review copy. So you may still get those people as well, even if the book has been listed on NetGalley post-publication too.
I know we're already over time, but I do want to make sure we get 1 or 2 more questions in. Sometimes people worry that the book being put on NetGalley for free will cut into their book sales. Can you explain why you do or do not think that should be something people are worried about?
Yeah, I mean, if you're posting the book pre-publication, it's all the buzz that you're getting pre-publication is good buzz. It's you're looking to boost word of mouth meter, and any review that you get, even if the book has already been published, is good. You want people talking about your book. Anybody who really loved your book is going to tell their friends about it. So anytime you can list your book on NetGalley, you can also provide links to pre-order or just purchase the book on NetGalley as well. So they do have that option to do that. A lot of the times we also see reviews that say, I love this book so much, I'm going out to my bookstore and buying it directly from my local bookstore. So maybe some people who provide their reviews on NetGalley are still also going out and buying their book. So you're reaching a new community of readers that you wouldn't have otherwise reached, no matter what.
Mhm. And the last one is there a way to see what kind of interest NetGalley members have before posting their book? Some way to look into the type of people that are on NetGalley.
I think that's referencing NetGalley member profiles specifically, in which case, no, unfortunately not. You do need to be on NetGalley in order to see those types of interests, and member profiles in general. You do need to be on NetGalley in order to do that. But if you want to see what kinds of readers are on NetGalley, definitely check out the NetGalley hashtag on social media. That'll give you a really good idea for the people who are actively posting, actively engaging with NetGalley books. TikTok is a really great place to do that. Twitter or X, Instagram, all those places. Just check out the NetGalley hashtag. That'll give you a really good indicator for the types of interests the NetGalley members have.
Yeah, and everybody who's right here listening right now, you can join NetGalley for free to be a reader. So you all can be part of the NetGalley community and review other people's books. It's easy to sign up and it's free. And then you get a chance to get into that world and see how it works to understand whether or not you would want to have your own book on there. So that's a great way to start to be in that universe. Awesome. Well, anything else, Sean, Katie?
I don't think I really have anything else, but yeah, as I said, if you do plan to participate in the program and you attended this webinar, please feel free to email me, and I'm glad to give you that extra month of time. And also, if you just have any follow-up questions or you want to chat about the program, I'm more than glad to do that. So yeah, just feel free to get in touch with me.
And for anybody who's watching the recording of this, the free month of time was only for people who registered when this was being recorded. So you're watching this in 2027. I hope life is good. I hope the world's not on fire, but you don't get a free month of NetGalley. Okay, Katie, Sean, thank you so much. This has been very useful and informative. And thank you to everybody who came to listen. I hope you all take advantage of it. It's a really great way to get the word out about your book and to start getting reviews. We appreciate it. Hope you have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.